And I think we're live. Yeah, we're pretty much live out there. Just double checking. Yep.
Yep, all
Looks like
good.
we're going out. All right. I will spotlight. Well, actually, we'll let people in here. Admit all. There we go. Hello, everyone. Great to see you this week. 2024 is off to a great start. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. It's great to have you all here. And we'll get started momentarily. Just kind of letting people join the session. We're streaming out there on Facebook and YouTube as well, which is great. And yeah, good to see you all here. Thank you for joining us today. I will give an intro here to the session, then I'll give an intro to our guest for the day. Let me go ahead and spotlight myself, and I will spotlight them as well, and spotlight our co-guest as well. And let me do our intro here. So what I will say is welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. And this is a place where we gather every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to this radio hour for just $16 a month, and you'll get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as the archival recordings of over 185 episodes in our member area. You can join that using the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. And we'll also mention up front here that we just completed our most recent masterclass. It was on making the complete shift from ETD tuning to oral tuning with Glenn Bingham. Glenn just finished over a decade with Steinway, where he was in leadership roles and training technicians and sort of working with technicians all over the country and the globe, and working with the Spirio system and so forth. So it was a great session, and you can still you can't attend live anymore. We encourage you to put next first Thursday of the month on your calendar so you can attend our next session live. But you can access the recording. So we'll get a link into the chat, which will allow you to either access the recording if you just want to purchase that one, that's the one that interests you, or if you want to subscribe, then that recording will be available in our member area along with our archive of other master classes. All right, let me give an intro to our guest today. This is Oliver Esmond White. We've had him on the show a few times. He has over 5 decades of dedication to perfecting the art of piano technology. He is a true maestro in the field. As the last Canadian to study at the prestigious Baldwin Factory and the first North American to attend the Yamaha Piano Technical Academy in 1986, his journey's pretty legendary. Having played a pivotal role as a rebuilder and concert tech, Oliver's fingerprints can be found on thousands of recordings, audio productions, and televised performances. His tireless commitment to pushing the boundaries of excellence has earned his shop the accolade of the most modern in Canada, according to Yamaha Canada. And we've seen tours of that as well. Pretty cool workshop, not just in Canada, but comparatively across the globe. So welcome, Oliver. And then, of course, we have Wayne Ferguson, who's also a star Canadian technician. And he's joined us to kind of chime in on what Oliver wants to share today. But welcome to the show, Oliver.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
Wayne.
Lovely to be back. And hi there, Gandalf.
Oh,
Now I feel like you had your hair like put back or something last time you joined us, Wayne.
Yeah, it was in a ponytail, so it's sort of no one
Okay.
knows it's been this
Yeah.
long. So
I thought you got a haircut or something. So, but yeah,
no,
it
it's
looks
work.
good. It looks good both
Thank
ways.
you.
That's good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
He's a handsome guy. What can I say? Um, all right. Let's start to dive in here, Oliver. I mean, you and I have been sort of just having some email chats and texts over the past several months. And I know, what I find exciting about what you're doing is, you're innovating, and that's always fun, and you know, I know, and other people know, who are trying to do different things and new things. It doesn't always work out, or you got to try, whatever. Um, what was it famously? Was it Thomas Edison, I think, or Benjamin Franklin, or whatever? I had 99 things that didn't work until I got the one that did. So, there's a lot of work that goes into developing new things, and just want to recognize that. And really excited to hear and share about what you're doing. So, where are you at in this process of developing this new type of upright piano action since we last talked?
Oh boy, we've made huge strides, both in business as well as technological. A few breakthroughs in how we're going about it, and I can share some of that with you. And in fact, this will be really the first time that the public gets to see some things, which means that I'm moving some things that I could actually patent into the public domain. And that's all. There's a reason for that, but patenting is something that everybody wants to invent. But boy, I'll tell you, you've got to be careful what you wish for. However, I have a few things that I could show you, which I think are going to be maybe even groundbreaking in our industry, which today I'm giving to the world. Um, so. One of the things is, and you won't
I'm
even
gonna
know what it
remove
is. Well,
I'm gonna
it's a
remove the other
rail.
spotlight so that we can see you full screen here. Let's see
And you see,
here. Yeah.
this
So
is
what is
this
this?
is we 3D printed this, but this is
Hmm.
essentially a hammer rail, an action rail, and pretty much standard, except for, if you'll notice, that there's slots there. And what that allows us to do is to slide a hammer or a damper or a whippen along the rail and align it to any piano, so that if somebody wants to retrofit using one of these mechanisms, it becomes kind of fun. You just slide the parts along until they're aligned with the capstans, and then build from there. So this should make
Hmm.
the job really easy. And by controlling this area here, we know exactly what the geometry will be, which means that the job of learning how to do it will, once you've done it once, you're going to be repeating the same process. So that was one of the huge problems we ran into, is we discovered the more actions we were looking at, tiny little differences between the jack height, or just a whole bunch of weird things that manufacturers, even in the same company, the same make, the same height, they have different actions, which meant
Hmm.
retrofitting became a challenge, and we were getting a little bit discouraged about that, because we didn't know how we could teach everybody how to find whatever the recipe is for every different piano. And by making our own rails and doing it this way, it's one size fits all. So yeah. Somebody's asking if we can put it onto an existing piano. We're going to have the whole thing, with the rails, with the everything ready to go in. Pull out one action, put in another action, and yeah. So I can get into
And
the.
so I see. So you pull out one action, you put in another action, and then the adjustability is key, so that you can do the hammer to string fit and everything else, and you don't have to worry about what was the in manufacturing that action. You don't have to think about what that is ahead of time. The tech who's installing it can do that.
That's right. there's so many variables. You'd have to figure out if the rail is different by a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch, then now you have to change all kinds of other configurations, and that just became a quagmire of details that we didn't think were going to be convenient for most piano technicians to be able to do it. It's not brain dead. You have to be a really good technician to do this anyways, but it went beyond being a reasonable job to being, wow, this is like, you really have to know what you're doing to a degree that wasn't reasonable. So now we've got it down that we think that a reasonably well-trained piano technician will absolutely be able to do a retrofit job in 3 days.
Great. So I'm realizing as we talk, we're kind of diving right in here, and I'm sure some people who are on the session or listening to it have been exposed to what even we're talking about. But I'm realizing tell people why are we installing new actions in pianos? What have you developed here, just to give a brief recap before we get updates on it?
Historically, Daryl Fandrich started this on January the 31st, I think it was in 1981, on his birthday, according to Heather. And he decided he was going to make a new piano action. And we're now 43 years later. He got it done, but it wasn't a practical action. It couldn't be regulated properly. But what he managed to do is make the upright piano more sensitive and more musical than the grand action. So the musician experience, I hear time and time again at this point, it's ridiculous how often I hear it at this point. It's like, okay, yeah, it's just more fun, better, more sensitive than most grand pianos. So a $10,000 upright or a $6,000 upright can get you to what a lot of $40,000 grands can't do. They're more fun.
And we probably went over this in previous sessions, but is this something that can improve the grand action as well? I mean, I know you're focused on the upright action, but is it something where you can apply the same principle to a grand action, or is it just different because it's different angles and there's different technology would be needed to improve the grand action to the degree that you're talking about?
As far as I'm concerned, the grand action is pretty good. If we just do what our ancestors knew how to do, stop fooling around with the geometry and all this, and just found one that we liked and just duplicated it, we wouldn't be even having a question about grand piano actions. It boggles me that 200 years pretty much after Erard, and at least 150 years after we got the grand action perfectly correct, that so many manufacturers are still screwing up, and that we have any questions at all about maintenance, but we do. So no, this does not apply to grand pianos, but the principles of Erard from 1820 to 1850, that all his inventions, the principles were analyzed by Daryl, and he applied all of the grand piano principles to the upright. And he's absolutely the first to do that. So, it's at this point, there's a whole bunch of science people saying that it's the third important invention in piano history. The first being Cristofori in 1708 or whatever. And what did he do? He made an action that could give you a piano, a soft, and a forte, a loud. So he just threw that in a harpsichord, essentially. And that was your first piano, and that was the first revolution. He did a really good job of that for the limited resources. The second big revolution was Erard. And what did he do? Well, the double escapement with synchronicity and a whole bunch of other principles that we don't like to talk about because it's a big mouthful. But he got all the principles right. And then we've just been slightly improving it until we stopped doing that about 150 years ago. And the upright was always the poor man's cousin, and we worked on it, but it was always, very unsatisfying. And Daryl got that solved, and then he handed over to me to make it that it's usable. So now we can mass produce, we can retrofit. It's really easy to regulate. I can show you all of that stuff. We got that down. We really got that down. I'm so thrilled. And we finally, another bit of news is the Charles Walter factory in Indiana, a legendary American company. They have signed on with to introduce our actions into their upright piano. So that's kind of new. And we're moving down that road. So it's really moving along, the whole project. And yeah, we got a lovely success at the PTG convention where we had one of our pianos, and I didn't have a negative comment from anyone. Rather, the opposite. We were told nice things about what we were doing, and nothing but. So people got it. You touch it, you go, wow.
Very cool. I mean, well, congratulations on all that. I don't know that I've actually tried one myself. So
Nope.
But
you can go down the road. Indiana is not far from Chicago. It's about a 3-hour trip, and there. Or if you're going to the NAMM show, one of our pianos will be brought there by the Walters to the NAMM show. It'll be in the Pearl River booth, and they want to bring it to the world.
And you're headed to NAMM this year, and that's coming up in the next week or so, right?
I'll be there on Friday. Yeah, in less than a week.
Great.
May I just add a couple of comments?
Yeah, hop on in.
So when Oliver was testing this, I think it was about maybe 8 months ago, Oliver, maybe a year ago, you brought a piano to Toronto. We went to a dealer in Toronto. I called several of my customers. One gentleman was a guy named Bill King, one of the top jazz guys in Toronto, has a radio show. So I asked him to come in, sit down and try this upright piano. And after he played it, he said, "This is a game changer. This was like way better than played." He could play faster and better on this piano than he could on any grand piano that was at Michael Remini's, and he's got all the top brands there. And Michael Remini at the time, he was blown away, and he says, "We have to have this product in our store to have people have this opportunity to try it." So I just want to give you that. That was a sort of a pre-test before Oliver had gone down to PTG and doing this other effort. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that we're at this moment here in piano history where, for example, I don't think spinets are even being manufactured anymore, for example. And the grand piano, it's sort of a catch-22. The grand piano is kind of the legacy prestige instrument that you can sell some of to maybe the wealthy clientele. And then there's this movement away from pianos just simply due to the complications involved with having a piano. Oh, it's big, and where am I going to put it, and how am I going to move it? People are, by the way, I remember, when I first got a mortgage back in 2005, the advice was, don't use those adjustable rate mortgages. That's, then you'll get yourself into trouble because the rate's going to change after a couple of years, and you don't know where you're going to be at, and all of a sudden you'll have to pay more. And I believe that at the moment, but recently got advice to get one of those adjustable rate mortgages because on average people move like every 3 years these days. People are moving all the time. And so imagine if you've got a giant piano that you also have to move. I mean, it just doesn't make it that much easier. And so the upright piano is an interesting case. It has a lot of potential to fill a need of having an instrument that's more compact. You know, people are being more efficient these days, um, and uh, and it's not. It doesn't have to be so much as what it was. I think you're right, Oliver. In the past, it was just the poor man's version. You know, okay, you want a piano? Here's a cheaper type of piano that you can have. But you know, if you look at something like David Clavin's, he's taken upright piano to a whole new level, you know, literally. You got to climb a flight of stairs to play this upright piano, and that thing's not a poor man's anything, you know, that's a pretty pricey, you know, bespoke, custom um, instrument that's crafted with very intentional design. So, and I can imagine, you know, yeah, why wouldn't you want to have the best action possible in those instruments as well? And he's also manufacturing now even smaller upright pianos, you know, 64 key instruments, una corda instruments, and things like that. And I think I'm helping to import some of them, and I'm seeing, you know, people are really liking these instruments, these upright instruments.
I
Um,
think my feeling is that the heyday, which we always thought was behind us, I have a feeling, and I can see how it could become true, that we can recuperate the industry. I absolutely see it.
mhm.
The piano, I think we have a fabulous future, but it needs a few visionary kinds of people to to do that. Yeah, David, I think right now the ratio worldwide is about 85 percent uprights and 15% grands. That's just locally. You're going to get big homes and it's only grands, and other places, well, it's all downtown apartments and it's all only uprights. But essentially, there's a lot more uprights than grands. Always have been.
Hmm. Let me take a pause here in the conversation, and I want to say, if people are watching it on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to sign off on the social media streaming, and that's just to encourage people to join into the Zoom session and join us live here. And so we're going to post a link out in the chats, in how you can register to join us in the Zoom call. So if you're on Facebook or YouTube, we'll see you sooner, see you later. Come on in and join us for the conversation. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Um, so Oliver, like, I want to hear more about, you know, just this process of innovation. We've talked about it on previous programs. You know, what I'm really impressed with what you've done is you've gotten a movement behind it. You know, you've got, I think, universities involved and government grants and things like this. And I'm really impressed with that because I feel like, you know, when you started talking about that stuff as a person in the piano industry, I just never even thought about that. You know, oh,